What's the difference now and then? I was just sitting playing. What I do now is what you have to learn, and that's where before there's a maturity there, which is a form of wisdom. And wisdom is what you get when you begin to write down. When I begin to see, or when we may not be coming in agreement with something, yes, I respect him as my head. And even though when I say that the man is the head, the woman is the neck, and the neck is turned, not in a form of control, but in a form of wisdom. Because you can begin to intercede and begin to pray. And you can kind of begin to speak what I want to happen and not speak what's happening. So that's why you have to learn how to change the conversation, change the way you see. Because if you change the way you see them acting, it's going to change the way they're naturally acting. It's just like when we get back into our form of meditation and how we meditate and how we pray. It's what you see in the spirit. It's what you allow your eyes to see. Not these eyes, but the eyes behind these eyes, which is the eyes of your understanding. What you want to come up under the right understanding in your mind is what you want to see happen. That's why you have to deal with your spiritual eyes in order to change the situation. Because when we first got married, I mean, spiritually there was a matureness that had to happen. We had to grow to become mature. You have to grow to become one. It doesn't just happen. That's why I feel it's very hard for couples if you get married and don't have any form of counseling, because you just jump into a relationship and you don't know if you're equally yoked, and then you find just because you lay with that individual, you may be yoked sexually, but then everything else is totally off balance. And if you can't come together spiritually, the sex is going to dry out. And you'll find yourself running to somebody else that's going to please you sexually. You have to come spiritually. It's a spiritual. If your spirit life can't come together and there's no unity there and no flow there, then the house will be divided. So what happens when they're not communicating with each other? And you said that they go out and find somebody that pleases them sexually, but yet they're still under this roof.
Under the church roof?
Under whatever roof that caused them to go out. Because they're not in spirit, they're being pleased sexually. The sex dries up. Then what? Once they start going out, how do you shift that thing?
Well,
let's talk about that.
If there's someone, if your mate is involved going out, then that comes back to what? Fasting. You have to turn down your plate. You got to begin to pray. You have to begin to, first of all, as a woman, if it's the woman that the man is one doing it, the woman has to come to herself and ask herself, does she want to keep that relationship? You have to come to an agreement within yourself. You have to make up your mind, because in the Bible, that's the form of divorce. That's reasons for divorce. But if you come to a place where you don't want to receive what's happening, well, then you have to get into the spirit realm. Everything you want is in spirit. And you have to go into the spirit first in order to see it manifest in the natural. So if you're dealing with that form of situation, that type of situation, then you got to go into the spirit and say, okay, for one, I got to cut this tie that he's having with this spirit. Because it's not a woman, it's just a spirit. So you, instead of looking at that other individual and getting caught up in the natural, or does she look better than me, does he dress her better, instead of getting caught up in the flesh, start dealing with the spirit. Because that's the spirit that he's dealing with. So you have to do what? Take authority of that spirit. And instead of allowing your feelings and the frustration getting upset with him, if you've already came to a conscious decision that you're going to deal with this situation, then you have to be conscious enough in your mind to say, okay, I'm taking authority all the way. I take authority of the spirit that's operating, and I take authority over to the place to know that this individual is not tearing down my character, is not tearing down my confidence.
No.
Because when you deal with situations like that, the first thing it does is tear you down. Because it causes you to look at yourself, second guess yourself. Wonder about, where did I miss that?
Prophetess was talking about seeing. Let's go to the handout we have. Reason for paradigm shift in leadership. Let's go to that handout that I gave. It's on the handout. The paper, the sheet. It says, read real quickly, Sister Sykes.
We have not walked this way before. The future is evolving so quickly that it would take a perceptive leadership to keep abreast with the changes and find an apostolic strategy to be effective in it. Only one thing is certain. God has been there in the future, and He knows what it will be like.
And see, that's one thing that you have to understand. Right now, in terms of paradigm shift, the country, let's talk about the country. The country is going in a direction. You haven't been in this direction. America is going to be so diverse. Yesterday I was out. I went somewhere and my wife let me out to do something. Spanish over here, Muslims over here, African Americans over here, Caucasians over here, Ethiopians over here, Iranians over here. So you have to, in your mind, you have to begin to prepare yourself now to deal with these. Listen, you're not going to be able to stay in America and be in business if you're not by me. The church, even myself, I'm going to have to learn Spanish. I need to know more than one language. I need to be international. I need to challenge myself to go to the next level. Say change. Say paradigm shift. Number 2, read.
The heat of the battle is intensifying. The demonic onslaughts are getting more pronounced on the Christian church.
It's right now. People in their church are losing homes, losing jobs, losing relationships. They say that the divorce rate in the church is higher than it is in the world. Lesbians are coming into the church. Homosexuals are coming to the church. Now, even when you watch your television, there are seducing, single, gay, and lesbian shows on. You have to watch these paradigm shifts and not get caught in them and know how to turn them off. Read.
We need a strong leadership that is able to stand in the heat of battle and wage a good warfare.
In other words, to wage a good warfare means you don't give up, you don't quit, you don't let nobody run you off your job. You don't let nobody run you off your job. Nobody. No demon, no demonic spirit should have the authority or intimidate you to the place where you think you're going to lose your job. That's a spirit. God hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but a power and of love and of a sound mind. Read.
We need to learn how to build in the spirit and effectively pull down the
So
strongholds.
how do you build in the spirit? You get up in the morning. Get up in the middle of the night. God, I just thank you right now that before I go to work, I send my angels of favor, Lord God. Father, I pray for my house. I thank you that my house is blessed from the back door to the front door. I lay my hands on my kids. I bless them. No hurt, harm, and danger. You constantly project the